Hey, what's up, guys? This is Isaac Kills, otherwise known as Nick, and today we're going to be talking about a movie that just came out this weekend on August 26th, and it's called Samaritan. And this movie is a superhero movie, and it stars Sylvester Stallone, and he's starring basically as both characters, as both the villain Nemesis and also the protagonist Samaritan. And I thought he did a pretty good job. But a little synopsis of the movie is that he's playing twin brothers who have superpowers, super strength, and quick healing, I think. I don't really know if he has any other powers than that, but that's the powers that it looks like he has. Um, while he was still boys, him and his brother, and this kind of plays out in the first scene. It's a little weird because it's kind of rushed, and the boy's the one telling the story. And he explains it that the townspeople noticed that the two boys had superpowers and that they were hurting kids at the school that they were at unintentionally. They weren't doing it on purpose, but they were just figuring out their powers. And in this little cutscene, um, it explains in the cutscene that the townspeople gathered up and they waited until the two kids fell asleep. Sylvester Stallone, the twin brothers, and they waited for everyone to fall asleep. They boarded up the house and they lit the house on fire. And the two boys got out of the house, but the parents ended up dying. And the boy who's telling the story explains it further. And it says that Samaritan, for whatever reason, after this incident, became good and wanted to help people. And Nemesis, he just wanted revenge, and he, was fueled by rage, and he wanted revenge, obviously, for the killing of his parents. I mean, it's a cool premise. I have some questions. Like, I mean, if something that, I mean, that's kind of like the story of Freddy Krueger, right? I mean, Freddy Krueger was hurting kids, and the townspeople figured it out and then went to his shack or whatever and burned him down. So they kind of took like the whole Freddy Krueger premise and put it in this movie. But my question is, and they never explain it throughout the movie, is why did one of the brothers become good? Because if, a large amount of people, from the city that you live in killed your parents, I mean, you would think you would team up with your brother, even if you had powers, and you would get revenge on who killed your parents, right? I mean, they don't really go too far into that. After they tell the story, it's automatically like 30 years in the future, and we're following the Sam character. And Sam, he did a decent job. He's played by an actor um, named Javon Walton. But, to be honest, I think he was a little bit young to play this character. There's a lot of times in the movie where he got into certain situations that he seemed, too young for. Like, I understand he's 13 in the movie, but he doesn't look 13. Like, to me, he looks like 10 years old. So a lot of the scenes kind of play a little awkward. So I think the movie would have benefited a little bit more if the character was maybe 15, 19 years old, kind of like Sam Witwicky and Transformers, kind of like that age in high school. But yeah, I thought he did pretty well for what he was given as far as dialogue. Um, Obviously, I think it's probably his first role, but he did decent. There was a scene in the beginning where his mom tells him to lock the door, but then tells him to check out the trash right after, like lock the door and then, can you take out the trash after you lock the door? It just kind of played off a little weird because like they live in a very sketchy neighborhood. So why would she be concerned about him locking the door if she wants him to go out into this neighborhood alone late at night to a very sketchy part of the building in complete darkness to take out the trash? I mean, if I was her, I would have just went took the trash with me to work. I mean, I probably would have to walk, by the trash can or at least be close by the trash can on my way to a car or whatever. So that scene kind of played a little weird to me. I don't know why, but I kind of bulletined it because I wanted to talk about it. But It just was a very sketchy neighborhood, and he's just really, really, really young. Just seemed a little dangerous. But the mom who played the character, I think her name was Dacha Blanco. She did have a scene with the son where the son was kind of being taken from the gangsters. And by the way, this is not going to be a play by play. I'm just going to kind of talk about certain scenes. But in the scene, the gangsters were trying to separate them, and she was, or they were trying to take Sam away from his mom. I forgot where they were, where they were going to take him, but they were trying to separate him for whatever reason. And in the scene, she was, very much at a rage, and she was fighting to stay with her son until obviously she got knocked out. But I, like the fact that both of them were fighting to get to each other, so you kind of felt the emotion in that scene. I thought she did a really good job as a character. The person who played Cyrus, which he was also in Game of Thrones, his name is P. Lou Aspak. I know I'm killing the name, but he plays a character called um, is it Edwin or Cyrus? Maybe his first name is Edwin, but he goes by Cyrus. But he plays the antagonist, and he was really a scene stealer. To be honest with you, I thought he did a really good job as the antagonist, as the bad guy of the movie. Um, he was basically playing the same character he played in Game of Thrones, which I did enjoy his character in Game of Thrones. He could have benefited a little bit with a little bit better dialogue in the fight scenes, however. It was just very generic, type of corny superhero movie dialogue. But overall, I thought he did a decent job. Um, the fight scenes were okay. There was a lot of cuts, and you can tell that they were limited in what they can do in the fight scene, obviously because of Sly's age and maybe budget or whatever. But the fight scenes were okay. Um, Sam um, was basically stalking Sylvester Stallone throughout the movie. He basically kind of figures out some clues that lead to him being Samaritan. To be fair, though, Sam also thought like two or three other people before Sylvester Stallone was Samaritan. And he has this one scene where Sam was going into, I guess, a library. And whoever works at the library, he's been reporting that he thinks Samaritan um, is certain people, but he's been wrong three or four times. So the scene kind of plays off as like the boy who cried wolf. Like he doesn't really believe him, even though he's right. And, he's trying to convince him, saying all these various, proofs that he has, visual proofs that he's seen and eyewitnessed. And he shows him the knife that's been crushed, and some reason he still doesn't believe it. So that was kind of a cool scene. Um, and the movie kind of plays out kind of like a mystery, because you're trying to figure out what happened to Nemesis and Samaritan. Because you find out that they had this one big fight on top of a building, and the assumption is they both died because they haven't been around since. So you're trying to figure out, well, first of all, who Sylvester Stallone is. He's powerful. You obviously know that he's a superpowered being, but you don't know if he's really a Samaritan throughout the movie. It's kind of obvious though what they're trying to do, so you kind of figure it out before you actually know who he actually is, and it's kind of like I said, it's kind of predictable. But Sylvester Stallone ends up not being a Samaritan; he ends up being Nemesis. And Nemesis, like I said, he was just really trying to get revenge over his parents' death. So you kind of do sympathize with him a little bit, just because, I mean, who wouldn't want to revenge their parents' murder, um, or murder of a loved one? So you kind of understand his motivations a little bit, but at the same time, there's a lot of holes in the story. Like I said, we don't know why Samaritan became good. Like there's no really explanation or what event made him do the complete opposite to what his brother was doing. Um, the main protagonist of the movie explains a little bit of Nemesis, like he was more of a Robin Hood type character, like he was only taking down bad people. So, if that was the case, was it like a Superman Batman type situation where they were both really good? It was just that um, Samaritan didn't really agree with Nemesis methods, I guess, the way he was taking down the bad people. But that seemed more of an interesting movie than the one we actually got with the little boy and Sylvester Stallone. Um, I think it also would have been a little bit more compelling, if obviously Sylvester Stallone was a little bit more younger. If it wasn't so much in the future, because I think it's like 20, 30 years difference. So I don't know. I mean, overall, the movie was decent. It wasn't groundbreaking or anything, but if you have a little bit of time and you really want something to watch, um, it is entertaining. I mean, there's a lot of slow parts in the movie though, and like I said, there's a lot of plot, contrivances and things that don't actually make sense that never really are explained. But it is a good premise. It is a good premise. During the last fight scene, you actually see, or not actually see, but it's actually said that he is not Samaritan, and it plays off very dramatic as he's fighting the main bad guy. He says, "Why do you keep calling me the good guy?" And he says, "Nemesis," like the bad guy, like questions it. And at the end, after obviously he takes him down, um, he's overheated because the way he heals is something to do with cooling down, kind of like a Universal Soldier. So I'm wondering if he was kind of doing that as a reference to Universal Soldier. I wonder if he's friends with John Clad. I mean, they obviously made Expendables together. But the way he heals is he has to cool down either by water or eating a bunch of ice cream. So the kid cools him down, he heals up, and the ending of the movie, um, the kid says that Samaritan is alive, even though he knows that he's not Samaritan. He knows that he's Nemesis, but he calls him Samaritan. So I guess maybe he's going to be taking his brother's persona now. He didn't seem like he hated his brother because when they actually show the flashback to when he killed his brother, it was more of an accident that the building just kind of blew and then he fell and he tried to save him, but just kind of slipped. So, you know, like I said, overall, I did enjoy certain parts of the movie. I think the story suffered a little bit having Sam as young as he was. At least to me, this is my opinion. Also, Sly, a little too seasoned to make the fight scenes any better than it was. But it was okay. The fight scenes were okay. It was passable, for something supernatural or superhuman to do. Um, I mean, I wanted to know more of the, Samaritan and Nemesis reasoning, why one became good, one became evil, and, the whole animosity between them, why they start fighting, what was the main factor that they disagreed on, that kind of thing. So, and also I wanted to know who specifically killed his parents. Like, did they catch who was responsible? Was it multiple people? Did they end up, killing him? I don't, because none of that was explained. So there was a lot of unanswered questions. The story of Nemesis and Samaritan, in my opinion, was a little bit more interesting. So I wanted to know more about that and how we got, you know, to the place we are presently. So I guess, I didn't hate it, but like I said, there's definitely a lot of holes in the story, um, and a lot of questions you still had after watching it, and basically a lot of unanswered questions. But the good thing is it's not woke, so it's zero wokeness. So I like that fact about it. I just wish the story was a little bit better, and like I said, I think the story would have benefited if the kid was a little bit more older, and obviously if Sly was about maybe 5, 10 years younger, and if the story wasn't such a future push from the main event to where Nemesis and Samaritan fought. Like if it was just like maybe 10 years in the future, not so drastic, because I think they pushed it up to like 30. So, things like that I think could have improved the story, that, and, diving a little bit more deeper into the Samaritan and Nemesis storyline. But hey, overall, if you have a little bit of time and you're wanting a quick action movie with no strings attached, I would watch it, for sure. But you'll definitely notice some things. But anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for me. If you guys did enjoy the review, please hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you on the next one.